Okay, so welcome to the new one. We are in the middle of a story, so you are coming in the middle. But yeah, so it's been a while. What?
Samuel?
Yeah, we are in Samuel 1, chapter 17, and we're actually in the middle of the chapter. I will just because it's been like a month since the last class, try to remind what we saw. So we are we can say in the era of decline of the kingdom of Shaul. It starts very well, but then Shaul made several sins, and in the end, Hashem told him, "You're not going to continue, or until your sons are not going to continue, someone else is going to continue." It doesn't tell him who, right? But it does say to Shmuel, the prophet, you should go and crown David. David was crowned in secret; nobody knows, right? And but Shaul is continue being the king. He is a formal king. And like in many other cases, with spiritual decline also come physical or material decline. And the Plishtim that were already defeated in the former chapters return and return stronger, and there is a war. Okay, so we already read that. I just will read that fast and remind some of the points that we mentioned before. So the Plishtim assembled the forces for battle. They massed as Sucho of Yehuda and encamped at Ephes Damim, between Sucho and the Zeka. So we explained about the geography last time. I'm not going to repeat that, but there is a war. And then it says Shaul and the rest of Israel's side massed and encamped in the valley of Elah. They drew up their line of battle against the Plishtim. So it's a camp against camp, not something we haven't seen before.
What verse was that? What verse are you reading?
We are chapter 17, verse 2.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, you can also follow here if you want, but yeah, there are different kind of translations, right? So it's maybe not exactly the same words that I'm reading.
Right, no worries.
So with the Plishtim stations on one hill and Israel stations on the opposite hill, the ravine was between them. So there is the freezing of the situation. Nobody is moving. And then comes Goliath. So a champion of the Plishtim, we said last time, champion is not the Hebrew word. Ish Benaim, meaning the person who is in the middle. It can also be understood as someone who is built, well built. So someone from the Plishtim forces stepped forward. His name was Goliath of Gath, and he was 6 cubits and a span tall. So very, very tall, very, very huge, big, strong. We also talked about these measurements last time. And he is very well armed. He had a bronze helmet on his head and wore a breastplate of scale armor, a bronze breastplate weighing 5,000 shekel. Only to hold that, you have to be very strong. He had bronze greaves on his legs and a bronze javelin from his shoulders, slung from his shoulders. The shaft of his spear was like a weaver's bar, and then the iron head of his spear weighed 600 shekels, and the shield bearer marched in front of him. So we mentioned that there is a guy walking in front of him, which we are not going to read later. When David is killing Goliath, where is this guy? Right? He disappeared. We will see.
Maybe smashing.
Yeah, we maybe smashed up under him. No, I think there is other explanation that we will see later. Okay, so this is a description, a very frightening person. What a God believer person that sees such a person in front of him, standing, what he should feel. I trust God. At least that what Shaul would have done in the former years. We remember the story of the war against Nachash Ammoni in the beginning of the kingdom of Shaul. He was mocking Am Israel, saying, "I'm going to take the right eye, the left eye of each one of the people of Yavesh Gilad," and nobody was answering. Everybody was afraid, and Shaul was very, very angry, and he collected everybody. Is going with this rage to a war. In this case, we're going to see, like we saw last time, this person is cursing Am Israel, cursing God, and nobody has the courage to go and deal with it and engage in a war against him. So that what we are seeing now. He stopped and called out to the ranks of Israel, and he said to them, Why should you come out to engage in battle? I am Plishti, and you are Shaul's servant. Choose your man and let him come down against me. So we explain all of that. This is only calling for a war, right? A person against a person. He is alluding here to one person. Who is this one person? Shaul. We would expect Shaul to come forward. He is a leader, he is a king. And we read in the beginning that he was taller than everybody else in Am Yisrael. If Goliath is tall, maybe Shaul is not as tall, but he is very tall, right? We would expect Shaul to come forward, or maybe Jonathan, his son. Jonathan was the one who was starting the war against the Philistines the last time and lead to the victory. So he's saying, choose someone. It was a normal practice in the old days. Instead of making a war against war, it's just a person against person. Try to imagine Trump against Carney. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, right?
Trump against who?
Carney.
Carney.
Yeah, yeah, just to decide. Or Bibi against Khamenei. It's going to save a lot of blood. So it was a regular practice, and he is offering that. Okay, let's do that. You choose someone. We have a war, and let's see what's happened. And this is the conditions. If he beats me in combat and kills me, he will become we will become your slaves. But if I best him and kill him, you shall be our slaves and serve us. So this is, until now, nothing very offensive, just a regular offer to resolve the war peacefully, relatively, right? Only one person should die. But then come much worse declaration. And the Plishtim ended. So I now defy the ranks of Israel. Get me a man and let's fight it out. So here it's like become personal or emotional or national. It's offensive, right? I don't know what exactly is the word defy mean, like cursing.
Defile somebody? Defile.
Yeah, in Hebrew what it says, herafti, is to curse or to speak in a gross way, in an unrespectful way. So I did that, and you are all silent. So what should be the answer for that? Rage, anger. We are going to fight in the name of God. We are going to defeat you. We are going to send Shaul. What is the answer? When Shaul and all Israel heard this word of the Plishtim, they were dismayed and terror-stricken. Why is this fear? It's the same. When you abandon God, you don't have this internal courage. You don't have this spirit, the spirit to fight, right? So this is a clear reflection of the spiritual situation in this moment of Shaul and the people that he led. And in this low point, until here we arrived last time. Now we're going to continue. In this point, there is the salvation is start to grow up, and this is David. So we already met David in the last chapter. There are many contradictions between 16th and 17th chapters. First and most and everything else is how is the description of David. It looks like we already forgot all what we learned last chapter, that David was a son of Ishai, and he lived in Bethlehem, and he had 7 brothers. All this information we already know, right? And we'll see later. And he started working for Shaul. He was playing for him when Shaul was in a bad mood. So Shaul already know David, and David is very frequently in the palace with Shaul. All that we already saw. And now it's like a new story, new person. David was the son of certain Ephrati of Bethlehem. Ephrati can be understood as a name of a place, but it's not, because it's from Bethlehem. It's usually understood as, it can be understood as someone from the tribe of Ephraim, but it's also not in this case because he is from Yehuda. David is the Ishai from Yehuda, the tribe of Yehuda. So the most logical explanation for this is someone important, someone, an honored person. This is it's said in this way several places in the Bible. Use the word Ephrat as someone important. So David was a son of someone important. He wasn't important. He was a son of someone
No, but
important.
his father never made sin in his life.
This is according to the Talmud. Yeah, the Talmud says that there were 3 or 4 people in history that never made a sin. 4 people in history that never made a sin. So why did they die? They died because of the sin of the serpent, meaning
Adam and Eve.
the ancient sin. Anyway, we are not going to focus a lot about Ishai. We just say that David is mentioned as a son of. He is not for himself. He is not an important person. He is son of a very important person from Bethlehem, Yehuda, whose name was Ishai. He had 8 sons. Who had 8 sons? Ishai, not David, right? Ishai had 8 sons, and his days of Shaul, the man was already old, advanced in years. So we understand how this Ishai has older sons, and David is youngest and is still old because Ishai is already old. I mean, old, not very old, but I mean, not a child. The 3 oldest sons of Ishai had left and gone with Shaul to the war. So these 3 older sons, we already saw about them the last chapter, when Shmuel came to Bethlehem to crown the king, the person that Hashem will tell him. In the beginning, he saw them and he said, "Oh, these are the people. They look very good. They look very strong and appropriate to be kings." So we understand also here they are considered warriors. They went with Shaul, but none of them stepped forward and say, "I will fight Goliath." So even though they were strong, like exactly what Hashem told Shmuel, the person see in his eyes, Hashem see to the heart, see what is really the essence of the person. So these 3 older sons go with Shaul to the war. And it's also mentioned in their names here again. The names of the 3 sons who had gone to the war were Elihav, the firstborn, the second Avinadav, and the third Shammah. Again, it's repeating the same, almost same exact words as we saw last chapter. And David was the youngest. So we have another 3 in the middle, and David was the youngest. The 3 oldest had followed Shaul. Where is David? We should think that, according to what we saw last chapter, that he is with Shaul, playing for him, or at least in the palace. No. Here we have another information. And David would go back and forth from attending on Shaul to shepherd his father's flocks at Bethlehem. So we understand the work for Shaul wasn't full-time job, it was part-time job. He was going between the palace and the flock. Now try to imagine what such a difference would make to you. You are going to the palace, the most important place in the country. Everything around is gold and silver, and people wear nice clothes, and everyone is important. And then you're going to shepherd the flock in the fields. It can create like inner conflict, or I don't want to say bipolar, but a person that is not stable. And we talked about that on Shabbat and recent days several times. The importance of not letting the situation change you, not become arrogant, not think that, oh, I have luck, I'm in the palace, so I'm a different person. You are the same David, which is a huge person, but you cannot like show yourself or change your behavior. David stay humble as he was before. He come and go when he's in the palace, he's with the king. When he's in the home, he's a simple shepherd. He's not changing his character according to the situation. So that's what we can say. David, the same David, would go back and forth, and he stays the same David. So this was like in parentheses to remind us who is David and how he is in this story. Apparently not connected yet with the war. So he didn't go with Shaul to the war. He stayed with his father. He shouldn't go to the palace to play for Shaul because Shaul is in the war. For 40 days, this situation is ongoing, and nobody is making any move, right? So it's freezing like that. And that was after the parenthesis, you see that this letter here, in the end of each verse, pay, it's the Jewish division of the Bible. So we have the chapters. The chapters were made by Christian. We are using it because it's more comfortable. Originally there's no chapters. The verses are Jewish also, but the chapters no. The division is with these letters in the original Bible. You would see like a space in the lines, right? Suddenly you have a space until the end of the line or until the middle of the line. So it's like these spaces here represent like parentheses, right? We want to add another factor to the story. The story is the facts about David. So this is the story, and then we are closing the parentheses, again reminding the situation. The Plishti stepped forward morning and evening and took his stand for 40 days. And then we are connecting these two stories, the story of Goliath and the story of David. David is in the flock shepherd, and then his father sent him to the brothers. Why he sent him? Apparently, they weren't expecting 40 days of war. Usually, war it's 2 days in the old times, right? 2 days can be long, but it's like battle. You win or you lose, and that's it. And then they go and stay there for 40 days, and and Ishai is sending some food. So Ishai said to his son David, "Take an ephah of this parched corn and these 10 loaves of bread for your brothers, and carry them quickly to your brothers in camp. Take then these 10 cheese to the captain of the thousands." That wouldn't make harm to be the favorite of the commander, of the captain. But I may add something else to that. We saw also Ishai already sending food to other people, other person. Do you remember who? When when David was summoned to Shaul, they didn't know what he wants for him. The king calling your son, your younger, not important son, and he didn't know what's going on. So he sent a gift for Shaul. He sent a little bit of food, like the same, like we are seeing here. He sent to Shaul.
Maybe
so it's like a gift.
to the old soldiers.
No, not to the old soldier. He say to the captain, to the Sarah Eleth, to the one in charge. So maybe it was like his way to try to defend his children, right? When his children, he wants them to be in the good side of the captain. I would add to that something that we mentioned several times, that there is tension between Yehuda and the other tribes. We can see that all over the Tanakh, all over the prophets. It's not like one nation. There is Yehuda and the other 10 tribes. After that, later Binyamin joined Yehuda, and they were together. But in the beginning, Binyamin wasn't. So the kingdom here is from Binyamin, from Shaul. And the soldiers, I mean, the family of Ishai are from Yehuda. So again, he wants him to be in his good side. So he sent him a little bit also to the captain. Apparently, this is the explanation of that. And then he said, find out how your brother are. Again, it's not an accurate translation. It says, Et achicha tifkod leshalom. Tifkod leshalom, meaning make sure they are in peace, or find out how they are doing. Okay, so that's the literal translation here. And then there is something that is not clear. It says, Ve'et arubatam tikach, and bring some token from them. What does it mean, token?
Some things.
Something.
Token can be like card.
Yeah, it says meaning of Hebrew uncertain. So this token, it's one of the explanation, meaning give me some sign that they are okay. A letter from them, some object that will show me that they are alive, or some receipt for the food that I gave you, some sign that they are okay. So the old father is worried for his son in the war. There is another explanation of Chachamim, interesting one. You know that one of the problems of wars, apart from the fact that people die, that people disappear. It's very common, unfortunately. And according to the Jewish law, if you are married and nobody saw you die, the woman cannot get married. She's waiting for the husband. She doesn't know what's going on. She's alive, he's not alive. So she's like stuck in this situation forever. There are many stories about that in the recent wars. And apparently, so what they used to do, they used to put a conditional divorce. Conditional divorce means that if I don't return, you are divorced from the first moment. Because another point, you cannot divorce your wife until you die. It's only before you die. So halachically, meaning if you are giving a divorce, saying you will be divorced from the moment I die, she's not divorced, she's widow, right? It's not the same situation. Halachically, it's not the same, right? For Yibum and for other issues. So what you were used to do is to give a divorce, a document of divorce that would say that if I don't return from the war, you are divorced from the first moment. And then she can marry. And if you return, okay, she already divorced, right? She wasn't a married woman when she got married again. She was a divorced woman, right? So this is called get al tnai, a conditional divorce. I heard a story from a rabbi that they are still doing that today in some cases. It was a rabbi that was dayan in some place, and he used to do his training in Israel in the Beit Din. So he was in the Beit Din with the principal rabbi of Israel, and learning how to do the divorces and all the things that the Beit Din, the court are doing. And then suddenly, the rabbi told everybody should go out. And everybody went out. And after a while, they returned. And it continues the day. After that, he asked him, what happened? Why should we go out? So he said they came here, a special unit, that they were going to a special mission, and nobody knows if they will return. There are many secret missions that are going on that nobody knows about them. And so they deposited divorce that if they don't return and we don't know what's going on with them, the wife will be divorced.
Yeah.
Right? So they are still doing that today. So according to the Chachamim, to the sages, this is the meaning of this verse. Et arubatam tikach. They didn't do the divorce for some reason. Maybe they went rushing to the war. So I want you to take from them the document of divorce in case they won't return. So this is just an interesting explanation of this verse. Anyway, David is sent to bring food to the brothers, to check about how they are doing, and to bring something back to the father. That was his mission. Shaul and the brothers and everyone else on Israel's side were in the valley of Elah in the war against the Philistine. Early next morning, David left someone in charge of the flock. Why is it important to mention? For two reasons. First, to see his responsibility, wasn't just abandoning. Also, we will see another reason later in the conversation with his brothers. Okay, we will just remember this point, that the Bible bother mentioning look like unimportant details, that he left someone with the flock. He took the provisions, meaning the things that Ishai gave him, and set out as his father Ishai had instructed him. He reached the barricade, and the army was going out to the battle lines, shouting the war cry. So it's meaning like he's entering into the situation of a war that's not happening. People are in the lines, they are shouting, they are speaking, they are preparing. Nobody's moving towards the other side. That's what he's seen. That he coming, that's the situation that he's seeing right now. Israel and the Philistine drew up the battle lines opposite each other. So David left his baggage with the man in charge, again with someone, not just abandon it, of the baggage, and ran towards the battle line and went to greet his brothers. So to find what's going on and to see what we said before. While he was talking to them, the champion, meaning the man, whose name was Goliath, the Philistine of Gath, stepped forward from the Philistine ranks and spoke the same word as before. And David heard him. So all the situations that is repeating for 40 days, now it's in live in front of David. So David is looking around and waiting for reaction. It's very surprising that someone come and cursing and speaking like that to Am Yisrael, about God, about Am Yisrael. And David is looking to see what's going on. And what he sees in verse 24, when everyone on Israel's side saw the men, they fled in terror. David is shocked, right? He's seeing the situation, he doesn't understand what's going on. Where is the force? Where is the strength, the faith, right? Where is Am Yisrael? We beat them already twice in the former chapters. We are strong. Hashem is with us. What's going on? And not only that, suddenly here, and on Israel's side, they were saying, do you see that man coming out? He comes out to defy Israel. The one who kills him will be rewarded by the king with great riches. He'll also give him his daughter in marriage and grant exemption to his father's house in Israel. Exemptions of what? Taxes, right. So there is a great reward. So not only the insult, it's not only the national emotions, there is also a reward here. There's personal benefit from going to the war. And nobody is ready to go out. So David is not believing that, and he start asking people. David asks the man standing near him, what will be done for the one who kills the Plishtim and removes the disgrace from Israel? Who is that uncircumcised Philistine, I will explain this word soon, that he dared defy the ranks of the living of God? So here are two questions that David is asking. What is the reward? And second, why is this person is defying Israel and the living God, and nobody is reacting? What is the two things? What is more important, these two things?
The second one.
Of course, the second one. So why is asking about? I just want to mention in parentheses, what is the meaning of the uncircumcised Philistine? So you know that non-Jews usually don't do that, don't do Brit Milah. And among Israelis, it was considered like an insult, right? Someone who is not doing that for some reason, it's an insult for him. So they used to call the Plishtim uncircumcised. It was also like a name to call non-Jews, because there is a halacha that if someone had a child and you did a Brit Milah, you did circumcision to him, and the child died. That can happen. It's mostly in the old times when there were infections but there is sometimes the reason is that the blood is not, it's harder to this, it's like a genetic disease when the blood is not getting, after being hurt. Hemophilia, right. So there are different levels of that. And of course, if you're doing Brit Milah to a child with that, he will die. There's no way to stop the bleeding, especially when he's so young. So what's happened if you did that and the child died? And then he had another child and he also died. The third one, you are not doing Brit Milah. The halacha say you are not allowed to do, if already two children died, you are not allowed to do the third one. Today we can know that before. And there are treatments, there are ways to resolve that. But in the old times, they didn't know. It just saw this baby died, the other one also died. Okay, we must do something. You don't do it Brit Milah. So this person is Jewish. He didn't do Brit Milah because it's a risk of life, so it's not a sin or something like that. You didn't do that. And he's still Jewish. The Gemara says that he's not called uncircumcised. We don't call him like that. In what context? For example, if you say, I'm making a oath, I'm not using something from uncircumcised people. He is not under this category. Even though that physically is uncircumcised, in the essence he is, right? So again, David here is using the same language or the same attitude of the other child on them, right? So you are defining us, you are cursing us. I also treat you in the same way. Why? Because you are against my people and against my God. Okay? Because we can see that in the words of Goliath, he's speaking about defying Am Israel. But in the words of David, he's saying defying the living God. Right? So we can see that for David it's the same. Someone who is defying Israel is defying God also. Right? And we can understand that as two different issues. Well, you're asking what is the reward? Why nobody is answering as two different issues. But we can like connect them together. We say, do we even need a reward? You can't believe that the king has to offer a reward in order to someone to step forward. So, is it true that the king is doing something for someone who is fighting for his people? Someone who is ready to sacrifice his life for his people, as in the army? So the king need to offer something. You're not going for yourself for the very fact that he defies the ranks of the living God. So David is very, like I said before, shocked. And so he asking, and the people answering him. The troops told him in the same words what would be done for the one who killed him. So they answered the first question. They didn't answer the second question. Nobody is courage enough to answer that. How is possible that someone is defying your God or your people in front of you and nobody is answering? Now, while this is happening, the brothers are there. So when Eliab, his oldest brother, heard him speaking to the man, Eliav became angry with David and said, "Why did you come down here? And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness?" Remember that I said that he left with someone? "I know your impudence and your I don't know this word. Yeah, meaning your evilness or your evil, your wickedness. In Hebrew it says, "Zedoncha veroa levavcha," the evil of your heart, right? This is the meaning of this word, impudence, and more or less. Yeah. I mean, your wickedness. Why are you speaking to him like that? He's saying, "I know that you are coming only because you are like curious to see war. You are like a child, enthusiastic of seeing war, right? Why did you come? Why did you leave our property, our poor property, little bit that we have without care? You came down to watch, so I know what you're thinking. You came down to watch the fighting." So what we are seeing here, again, that the family of David doesn't recognize his greatness. When Shmuel came to Ishai, told him, "I want to see your sons, because one of them is going to be the king," he didn't even think about bringing David. Only all the others were already, he told them, "No, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that." And they said, "I don't have any more." And Shmuel told him, "Are you sure you don't have anyone more?" "Ah, yeah, I have one. I remember, I have another son." Yeah. So it wasn't important in his family. So you said correctly that the Gemara speak very positively about Ishai. In the verses, it doesn't look like that, at least in this context of understanding who is David and the greatness of David.
They were thinking that he's not from the family.
So there are some legends about that he's not from the family or what, but I don't want to enter to the midrashim. I'm going now according to the verses. It looks like they didn't appreciate him. So David was responsible. He didn't even think about that David is able to be responsible, that he will leave the flock with something, with someone to keep. And he also suspecting him for bad intentions. He doesn't think that he's going to see what's going on to see that they are okay. No, you are coming here because you want to see the war, right? So, and I mentioned that there is a verse in Tehillim that David that wrote the Psalms, the Tehillim, that is saying that the brothers didn't like him. Muzar הייתי לאחי, נוכרי לבני אמי. I was strange to my brothers like a foreigner to the sons of my mother. Right? So that's what David said. That the family didn't treat him well. And again, and how can I see that it's regular? That it's not the regular treatment in David. The next verse, we see that David like ignore him. But David replied, "What have I done now? I was only asking, right? I know this. Yeah, what do you want from me? Okay, yeah, whatever." And then he just going his other side, and he turned away from him, turns towards someone else. He asks the same question, and the troops gave him the same answer as before. So David is making a little bit of noise. Until now, it was 40 days of the same movie, right? So now there's something new. David is making a little bit of noise, and people start speaking. Who is this guy? What he wants? Where he is? Yeah. So the things David said were overheard and were reported to Shaul. There is someone here. So what was reported? That he was asking what is the reward? That he was asking how? No, that is asking apparently what David was speaking. How it's possible that nobody stepped forward? So there is a candidate to sacrifice himself. Okay, everybody is happy. Come, right? So and were reported to Shaul, who had him brought over. So David was brought to Shaul, and David, the little young guy, the shepherd, the little shepherd, the player, is talking to the king with a lot of confidence. David said to Shaul, "Let no man's courage fail him. Your servant will go and fight that Philistine." So what we see from here is courage and also faith. And this is what was lacking for Shaul and the people in that situation. So in the beginning, Shaul doesn't believe. He's in the same mood of, no, everything is lost, we are going to lose a war. But Shaul said to David, "You cannot go to the Philistine and fight him. You are only a boy, and he has been a warrior from his youth. So he's looking like in human eyes. Like we said before, the man look with his eyes, God sees to the heart. You are young, he is a warrior, there's no chance here." So David is answering. David replied to Shaul, your servant has been tending his father's sheep, and if a lion, it's not if.
It happened.
Yeah,
It was sorry.
the Hebrew version doesn't say the word if. It says, I was a shepherd, and then one day a lion and a bear came and carried off an animal from the flock. I would go after it and fight it and rescue it from its mouth. And if it is and when it attacked me, I would seize it by beard and strike it beard?
Beard.
Beard. Beard.
It's only
And
the
strike
lion,
it down
beard.
and kill it. And he says, your servant has killed both lion and bear, and that uncircumcised Philistine shall end up like one of them, for he has defied the ranks of the living God. Okay, so I will explain that again, but then he says again, Vayomer David. David went on. Again, the translation here it changes. It says, and David say. Why to say again? David say. If David continues speaking, it's just one speech of David. We can understand that David said what he said. There was a pause. Nobody said anything, or Shaul told him, you know what, not convincing me. And then David said another sentence. And only after the other sentence is when Shaul is accepting it. So, and David say, God who saved me from lion and bear, will also save me from the Philistine. And then he says, then go, Shaul say to David, and may God be with you. Okay, so let's see again what's going on here. David say, I'm strong enough. You said, you are not strong. You are a boy, and he is a warrior. You cannot win him. David say, I look weak, but I'm strong. How do you know that? Because I defeated the lion and the bear. Now, we are in Canada. You know how bear is, right? It's not very recommended to fight against a bear, especially when he's eating. When he's eating, he says the bear and the lion stole. Say it's a lamb.
Yeah.
When they steal a lamb from, it's a sheep, right? When they stole from the sheep, I go and fought against them. Now, again, it's not recommended to fight a bear, as you know, as Canadians, but also I can tell you that it's not recommended against the lion.
Yes.
They're huge animals, right? In order to beat them, you need or miracle or to be smart. You should find a way, trap or something that you can defeat them. So David say, I'm courageous, but I'm also clever. I'm not afraid of fighting stronger people or objects than me, and I know how to do that. I don't know exactly the story about the bird.
It's only lion.
Yeah, but how exactly Biscano? So he holds the lion beard and hit him.
Like the mane of the lion. The lion has
Head. Yeah, but again, it's not very. I would say maybe from far away, like in Goliath, with a stone, with some.
Maybe by a rope or something.
Yeah. So, or maybe that it means that he came from behind.
Yeah.
And I put, and then I don't know. But the first argument, I would say, is rational or human. I'm strong enough. I'm not afraid of stronger people than me. Shaul is not convinced. You are stronger. Goliath is stronger. You are little young. He didn't mention God now, until now. And then in the second verse, in the second time he speaks, it says, Vayomer David, God who saved me from lion, he will save me from the Philistine. Then this spark of faith that was missing during all these 40 days suddenly returned. Something very similar Jonathan said to his boy, to the person that was with him, to his, how do you say, a weapon carrier, right? No?
Weapon carrier.
How do
The guy that helped you with a weapon.
What?
Or armor bearer.
Armor bearer, yeah. So Jonathan said to his armor bearer, remember, Hashem can help to few or to many.
אין מעצור ביד השם.
Yeah, אין מעצור, I know that in Hebrew also, but not in Hebrew. Hashem has no break, so there's no limits of saving us with few or with many. So again, I'm not saying that we should ignore the reality and say Hashem will save me, Hashem will help me, Hashem will bring me. But you cannot take out God from the story, especially when we are speaking about national issues, about Am Israel. When we talk about the nation of Israel, Hashem is a factor, right? It's not only putting the, how do you say, the badgers, the bombs in the walkie-talkie of Hamas, of Hezbollah.
Oh, pages.
Yeah, pages, right. It's not only doing that, it's believing that Hashem will help you because the chances are so low to succeed in such kind of operation and other stuff. I'm not going to enter. But David is bringing to the table, apart from courage and cleverness and readiness to fight for the nation, also the faith. And only in that point, when Shaul is hearing that David is coming in the name of God, then he says, go, and Hashem will be with you. Okay, I think we will stop here.
In the middle of the action.
Yeah, in the middle
But
of
meet
the.
next week.
Yeah, I hope it's going to take
Yeah.
another month to see the next class. But
But we meet every Wednesday.
yeah, every
Wednesday at 8.
Wednesday around 8.